Ant-Man versus Atom. Um, I do like Atom more. You know, people who watch this, or watch my channel know that I like DC better than Marvel. But, that being said, Atom is, I mean, he's a smart guy who, depending on the continuity, either invented a belt or a suit that can help him shrink using white dwarf star technology or some shit like that. But um, Ant-Man, meanwhile, I don't like. Hold on, my audio looks like it's being weird. Yeah. So he Ant-Man, I don't really like him. Actually, depends on the Ant-Man. I like Scott Lang. I do not like Hank Pym, who I believe is the Ant-Man they're using for this fight. That dude's a piece of shit, honestly. Like, I don't care if you try to defend him. He sucks. Um, but he is also the scientist supreme, and there's a reason he has that title. So I think in the end, if it's Hank Pym like I think it is, he's gonna beat Adam. If it's Scott Lang, maybe Adam has a chance. Jeez. Oh. All right, let's get into this, guys.
Ant-Man, Marvel's founding member of the Avengers.
The Atom, DC's legendary Mighty Might.
Good things come in small packages.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
We're just trying to get these out of the way.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a
A
death
death
battle.
battle.
Did you know that ants can lift 50 times their own body weight? That'd be like if you lifted a car straight over your head.
I did, thanks to my fun fact of the day calendar. Also, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada yesterday.
Well, I bet your
What?
calendar didn't tell you that Dr. Henry Pym, aka Hank, was considered a genius at a very early age. By 3 years old, doctors declared that he was smarter than both his parents combined.
He eventually majored in biochemistry and
Alrighty, real name Dr. Henry Hank Pym. His natural height is 6 feet or 183 centimeters. Natural weight is 135 pounds or 84 kilograms. Um, Biochemistry major and a cybernetics minor. Knows judo, karate, and wrestling. Is the headmaster of the Avengers Academy, one of the top 5 smartest people alive. And it's also been known as Ant-Man, Giant Man, Yellow Jacket, the Wasp, and of course, Scientist Supreme, in case you didn't know, because he loves to bring it up. You know the joke about how people from Harvard have always got to mention that that they went to Harvard? It's like that times a million. Anytime he gets a chance to show how smart he is, he has to mention that he is the Scientist Supreme. He's so amazing.
became one of the most successful scientists in his field. He had big ideas about shrinking the size of cargo to reduce shipping costs.
Smart.
Logistics.
All of which made him a laughingstock in the scientific community
Fuck
and
you
sparked
guys.
a long-lasting insecurity and need to prove himself.
But he did it. He developed a working serum. He went from laughing stock to Christmas stocking. The much better stock, right behind Bean and Life.
So, naturally, he tested the serum on himself, like any self-respecting scientist would, and
Yeah,
shrank
no,
down
totally.
to the size of an ant.
And just when things started going south, a sweet little ant, let's call her Aunt Hathaway, swooped in and led Hank safely back to his lab where he could return to full size.
Hank then harnessed the serum and became the superhero, Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Along with his new identity came a fascination in entomology, which makes total sense. Ants are fascinating.
Did you know that ants can talk
Kinda.
to each other in a bunch of different ways? Through touch, sound, or even sharing information by barfing at each other.
It's actually
Ew.
called trophallaxis, and they're not barfing per se.
The mutual exchange of regurgitated liquids between adult social insects or between them and their larvae. That sounds like barfing.
It's more like passing food mouth to mouth.
Gross! Hank figured out how to communicate with his new pets, not by barfing, but by creating a cybernetic helmet that mirrors an ant's
Cybernetic helmet, built for communication between man and insect, has an antenna, shell, houses miniaturized electronic equipment. Transmitter sends impulses from the wearer on the ant's frequency. The decoder is a miniature computer that changes incoming and outgoing signals into intelligible meanings. Oh, so that's how you can understand ants. And receiver, open to vibrations from the ant's antennae.
antenna, and he's even developed genuine relationships with some ants, like Ulysses' S. ant here.
But he didn't stop there. Hank developed a lot.
Cybernetic helmet, cyber no helmet, insects, stinger pistol, the Ant-Man suit, the image inducer camouflage, tool belt, size pellets, and shrinking gas.
A lot of amazing tech like a stinger pistol that focuses.
Cellular disruptor gun, microscopic cybernetic sensors, portable PIM pocket holes, PIM particle stream device, portable communicator, jetpack, eraser tech, neural inhibitor, and a nylon lasso.
His bioenergy into a stun beam and image-inducing camouflage to mask himself as an ant. It worked so well it fooled Reed Richards, the smartest guy on the planet.
He also built a suit that runs on that nifty serum he made back in his lab. It lets him shrink thanks to the newly discovered PIM particles, named after himself.
Of course.
Classic Hank.
And the PIM particle is the key to unlocking the fundamental constants of the quantum mechanics at play here. They enable you to decrease the distance between atoms. However, in order to do that, he'd have to change the Bohr radius, the ratio of electron mass to the distance the electrons orbit an atom.
A physical constant approximately equal to the most probable distance between the nucleus and the electron in a hydrogen atom in its ground state. It is named after Niels Bohr due to its role in the Bohr model of an
Atom's nucleus.
Well, of course. Like how when you make a bagel pizza, you can't fit the whole pizza on the bagel. Believe me, I've tried. It's too small. You just gotta put less on.
Sure, Boomstick. So the PIM particles are actually displacing mass to an alternate dimension in order to maintain that ratio.
Oh, it's like having a second bagel to put the rest of your pizza on. I get it.
But if that were true, he shouldn't.
PIM particles are responsible for the strength of Thor-level characters like Wonder Man, and have let Hank, as Giant Man, match strength with people such as Hercules, who can lift the entire universe. PIM particles were confirmed to boost others to Hercules-level strength in Avengers West Coast Annual Volume Number 2, Issue Number 8.
Be able to punch with full-size strength if he has less mass.
And he's definitely lighter, because otherwise he'd crush the sweet ants he rides, like Vincent Van Gogh here.
His mass is being replaced with massless neutrinos, but that doesn't adequately explain how he can have less mass and seemingly more mass at the same time.
Sure it does, Wiz. Trust Pim and his particles. Look at the guy. He's explaining the whole thing while wearing a lab coat. What's more trustworthy than that? You're the exception.
You think you understand this?
Oh, of course. He's small but strong. You said something about a boar, so I guess you wanted ham on that pizza, but I already made the pizza.
Will you take that coat off?
No.
No.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys.
Regardless, there is virtually.
His shrinking is also superior to that of Scott Lang's, who has shrunk down smaller than literal concepts that were being removed from reality by a Celestial in Defenders Volume 4, Issue 11, October 2012.
No limit to Hank's ability to shrink. He can go beyond subatomic, down to the underspace, a plane of existence below all realities in the Marvel Universe.
And Hank has literally changed his biology.
PIM particles. Shrinking can decrease the size of himself or others to touch or blast. Growing can increase the size of himself or others to touch or blast. Field naturally generates a field of PIM particles due to a long time exposure. Sonic Shout, Thunderclap, and Super Breath.
He's rewritten his own chemical makeup to prevent anyone else from changing his size. And he's used Pym particles so much, he's now got an energy field around him that lets him change the size of people or objects on the fly, through touch or by straight up firing Pym particles in the air.
He's never shy about using them either. He eventually supplied his wife, Janet Van Dyne, with some Pym tech to become the Wasp, his partner in crime fighting.
The two ended up rubbing shoulders with A-listers like Thor, Iron Man, and the Hulk to take down Loki. Ant-Man and the Wasp were actually the ones that captured him and pitched the idea of forming the Avengers.
Unfortunately, Hank's insecurities started to creep back in, and he felt that if he wanted to keep up with the big heroes, he was going to have to think bigger.
Enter a bunch of those Pym-powered alter egos like Yellow Jacket and Giant Man, where he can grow anywhere from 12 feet tall to so big he can enter the overspace.
Defeated Ultron multiple times, former chairman of the Avengers, condensed Vision into a black hole against Graviton, and changed sizes in a nanosecond, fought evenly with Asgardian-powered villains, grew beyond the microverse into the overspace, the realm of the abstracts, and called Reed Richards a bitch straight to his face. Damn.
The polar opposite of the underspace.
There he met Eternity, who called him Earth.
Alrighty, overspace is a transitional realm that is above the superflow of dreamtime and informational space which democrates infinite universes. Democrats? Infinite universe? I don't know. Timelines and higher dimensions. Hank could briefly enter the overspace before showing side effects, but he should grow to immense sizes short of that with fewer difficulties.
Scientist Supreme. Something he won't let you forget.
Hank pushed himself to these insane heights even though he knew the
Sorry, what happened with the Scientist Supreme?
Enter the overspace, the polar opposite of the underspace.
There he met Eternity, who called him Earth's Scientist Supreme. Something he won't let you forget.
Yeah.
He pushed himself to these insane heights even though he knew the strain on his body could be fatal.
But he simply didn't care and kept pushing himself. Thus, his greatest and worst creation was born.
Ultron.
Yep, all the Tin Man Tron was created by Hank, not Tony like the movies. But the mass murder butt thing turned out pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss there.
The fallout from Ultron left Hank in a bad place, to say the least. His guilt made him feel like an utter failure, and that his best work was behind him. This led Hank to do unspeakable things.
Like bitch slap his wife.
Move. And even though poor mental health doesn't excuse this behavior, it was clear that Hank needed help. He suffered multiple mental breakdowns, endured the physical toll of the Pym particles, and had bipolar disorder that went undiagnosed for years.
So Hank finally did the best thing he could. He acknowledged his problems, got the help he needed, and committed to self-improvement.
And with that help, Hank slowly started making things right. He rebuilt the West Coast Avengers, gave Scott Lang his blessing to become the second Ant-Man, and finally defeated Ultron.
He created a backdoor Trojan infiltration code to defeat Ultron that was so advanced, it went on to replicate and evolve all on its own to create a new species made up of artificial intelligence.
They don't call him the god of modern AI for nothing. Hank has showed over and over again that he's an integral part of the Marvel Universe.
Not just by ways of his scientific contributions or victories in battle, but by proving that heroes come in all shapes and sizes.
Ray Palmer was born your average human-sized person. He grew up in the Northeast, studied physics at Ivy.
Real name, Dr. Raymond Palmer. Natural height, 6 feet. Natural weight, 180 pounds. Well, that's exactly the same as Hank Pym. That's crazy. He has a PhD in physics, knows judo and gymnastics, was trained by the Justice League, learned sword fighting from the Carathians, and is the origins for the myth of Aladdin's lamp. That's actually kind of cool.
University and did everything Mama and Papa Palmer told him to do. Probably.
Everything was pretty typical for Ray until one fateful night when he took a walk to take his mind off a frustrating experiment and saw a meteor fall from the sky.
He ran off to the crash and found himself a life-changing piece of a white dwarf star and immediately started messing around with it. Who wouldn't?
He discovered that he could focus ultraviolet rays through it and shrink inanimate objects. There was just one problem. When he shrunk things, they exploded. Every time.
I do not see the problem. Sounds like
Of
you
course
found
you
a
don't.
foolproof way of blowing stuff up. Case closed.
Ray was determined to figure out how to shrink objects without blowing them up. But first, he went on a hike with his nature club. And as a fellow scientist, I have to question his priorities.
But hey, it seems to work for him. I
Everybody
support it.
needs a break
Different
sometimes,
hikes
man.
for different mics, am I right?
While in a cave, the ceiling suddenly collapsed, trapping everyone inside. After searching high and low for another exit, Ray found a small opening and had an idea. He could try to shrink himself down and get help, even if it meant he might explode before he got the chance.
But he
And that's
didn't
what makes a true
explode.
hero.
I hope this story has a happy ending at least.
Perplexed, Ray determined there must have been something special about him that made him uniquely immune to the explosive fate. Something super scientifically convenient that we never get.
It's possible this is due to a metagene, although the exact reason still remains a mystery. Regardless, he has since perfected the science to ensure that others do not explode when altering their size.
Get any more information on.
So he got to work and created himself a suit to harness the power of the White Dwarf star and became the Atom!
Adam uses the white dwarf fragment
Shrinking can shrink himself and others to microscopic levels through touch or via his equipment. Mass alteration, controlling his own body mass, rearrange his atoms. At a shrunken state, he can manipulate the atoms in people and objects. Mind manipulation. At a shrunken state, he can make mental suggestions. Interesting. Nuclear blast. By re-expanding a molecular fracture charge, he can create small nuclear blasts. It's pretty cool. He can shrink himself small enough to pass through objects, and flight, riding air or light pathways via mass alteration.
decrease his size while having control over his density, which makes a lot of sense considering that white dwarfs have the mass of a star, like the sun, but their volume is more like the Earth's, making them among the densest objects in space.
Just
Yeah.
a teaspoon of the stuff could weigh up to 100 tons. That's
Damn.
one strong spoon.
When Adam
Yeah.
shrinks and shifts his weight, he's actually sending his extra mass to a dimension called the mass zone.
Where, Adam could maybe live forever. At one point,
Interesting.
Ray's apprentice, Ryan Choi, was murdered by Deathstroke, but willed some of his mass to the mass zone and was able to survive in that dimension. So these guys can potentially cheat death.
Ryan Chow was stuck in the mass zone. He could share his mass with Ray Palmer. Ray then realized that if his hand was cut off, Ryan could share his mass with the severed hand, form a new body with it, and escape the mass zone. Interesting.
But would be stuck there without any outside help.
But from one scientist to another, what's most impressive is Ray's creation of the bio belt. That's what allows Adam to use the power.
His bio belt is a suit made of white dwarf star. Has a sword dipped in Clarthian poison, metal knuckles, shrinking blanket, crossbow, miniature blaster, nuclear destabilization, dimension vibrator, and a magic satchel. Just a second, guys. Sorry, just checking my
Of
volume
white dwarf
stuff.
and shrink while maintaining any weight from immaterial to his full 180 pounds. There's even been times where it's stated that he was able to become almost as dense as a white dwarf star itself for a few seconds.
The belt
Damn.
is also how he can travel through phone lines or through the air on currents or light beams. Over time, Ray has spread out the white dwarf power to other parts of his suit, and now the bio belt acts as a utility belt for his shrunken weapons and tech. It also prevents his size or mass from being altered by any outside forces.
And while he can only increase his size back to his natural 6 feet in height, his ability to shrink is near limitless. He can travel between subatomic space to the microverse, the foundation of all reality in the DC.
He can potentially shrink even smaller than that, given that he was able to reach sizes that even Dr. Manhattan was unable to affect with his reality warping, meaning he would have had to have shrunk smaller than ideas and concepts themselves.
universe, where atoms become the size of planets.
Typically, he can increase back to his normal size with such force he can smash through diamonds. So if Adam increases his size too much while still within the microverse, he could blow up the entire
The microverse exists within all matter in the main multiverse, while the ordinary of within the ordinary of worlds, and may even extend as far as the Speed Force wall, which is stated to be the limit to matter by the DC Multiverse map. This would encompass infinite universes, timelines, and higher dimensions, though would fall short of transcendental realms beyond this, such as the Spear of Gods.
Fabric of reality from the inside out.
Shrinking down to that size means that he can shrink small enough to rearrange atoms themselves.
Yep, Ray can take individual molecules and rapidly expand them to cook up a small nuclear blast in the palm of his hand. Oh, Ray Palmer. I just got that.
He also once disarmed a bomb by rearranging its atoms. At that size, he can move at the velocity of light. So fast and so randomly, he basically acted as a barrier between any and all possible atom combinations. But come on, there's no scientific explanation here for him to have superhuman senses or awareness to comprehend being everywhere at the same time.
Ah, it makes total sense. If you're small enough, you can fit in almost everything, everywhere, all at once. Like how you can fit an entire pizza into a calzone, and then you have a whole pizza everywhere inside the calzone. Man, I get it. Science is pizza.
No, science is all I have. Why are you doing this to me?
On top of all of Ray's
fuck,
amazing
Boomstick?
inventions and abilities, he's also got some more classic weapons, like a laser blaster and a frickin' sword he used to fight a giant crocodile. Relative to his size.
That was when Ray was believed to be dead, but was actually just stuck at 6 inches tall and stranded in the Amazon rainforest, where he encountered an alien race known as the Catarthans.
And get this, he ended up leading a rebellion.
Moved a white dwarf star fragment, hits with the force of a white dwarf star, thinks it moves with the velocity of light, became a million possible quanta, survived the vacuum of space for 10 seconds, took a de-adhesion beam that disintegrated Flash, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Green Lantern, and defeated Kronos, the Time Thief, the Buckeye Bandit, and Strobe.
Against their tyrant king and became the ruler of all the Kardashians.
And his heroism didn't stop there. The Atom was a very well-respected hero, and was even asked to join the Justice League of America shortly after it was formed.
He fought alongside Batman and his best bud, Hawkman. And you don't fight with those guys without picking up a thing or two.
Impressive combat skills aside, Atom's greatest contribution to the legendary team was always his incredible mind.
He once created kryptonite inside of Superman by realizing that if he gathered up enough Kryptonian protons, they would eventually become radioactive.
While stranded in limbo, Atom realized that if the Flash sped up the rate of a nuclear reaction's stellar evolution to exhaust its core, they could turn a fire demon into a black hole and use it as a wormhole to get back to Earth.
He's a brilliant, hard-working, and determined scientist that never stops working on a problem until he's found a solution. I mean, if I figured out how to blow stuff up as well as he did, I would have stopped right there. I'm the hero that blows stuff up. Wouldn't even need to change my name.
Ray Palmer lived the dream, going from research scientist to legendary superhero. He picked up the pieces presented to him and built something greater than the sum of its parts.
Who knew this tiny titan with massive brains would have just as much brawn to back it up?
Alright, the combatants are set, and we've run the data through all possibilities.
It's time for a death battle!
No ad?
Porn
Nice.
addiction turns high IQ men into
I mean,
silent
ad here, but
underachievers.
no ad
They're
for
highly
Death Battle.
intelligent, always told they had so much.
Shut up.
You should pick on someone your own size,
Lol.
relatively speaking. How did you do this? It's laced with a particle I've never seen before. They're called Pym particles. And I'm Hank Pym, Scientist Supreme. You should have known.
See what I mean about the hardwood thing? Damn. Oh shit.
You're using pieces of a white dwarf star? That's cute.
Everything we needed already existed. You just needed to be smart enough to put the pieces together. Scientist Supreme?
Like it looks so epic to that, but it's just regular shit.
Did you know know that at any given moment, there are about 2.5 million ants under your feet?
I mean, that makes sense, but why are you bringing that up right now?
It's a really good Ray Palmer voice.
Took you long enough. Okay, let's try this. I'll hack his belt. You lay low and let me know what you find. Huh?
Nice try. If I search every electron path in his gun and study their probability wave functions,
That ant went inside of it, didn't it?
might be able to.
Like, he got rid of Ant-Man, but he didn't get rid of the ant, did he? You guys did not destroy the universe with your fight.
What's happening? He must be reaching his limit. If we don't get out of here quick, he's gonna destroy all of reality. Now, my pets! You have your tricks and your tools, but I created something beyond the limits of human existence.
Yeah, we get it, you're smart.
Scale you can't even comprehend.
Destroyed his belt and dragged him to the overspace.
You can't be afraid to think big.
Oh yeah, see, yeah, inside of him.
Ant-Man and Atom both had many answers to each other's abilities and arsenals. Both were able to store various weapons at a shrunk.
Ant-Man was smarter, stronger, and more durable. His powers came naturally, and he had a much larger arsenal. There was also the argument that he could shrink smaller at worst stalemates, but their speed was similar. The Atom, on the other hand, could control the density of his size, could affect the probability of some of Hank's weapons, but he couldn't grow larger than his natural height, and his bio belt is susceptible to hacking. He has less examples of shrinking the sizes that Hank has attained, and of course, like I said, their speed was similar.
State. Both were trained in judo, and they both could obviously keep up with each other's ability to shrink at will.
Though there was one small thing Adam couldn't answer to: the ants. Hank's
Yeah.
bond with his pets lent him some small advantages, and Ray just didn't have enough
Basically
anti-ant
meant that he had an
tools in his
army and
bio belt.
But in Adam's defense, the fact that he could punch with a fist packed with all of his mass meant that a close-up fight, while small, would leave Hank with few options since he can only punch with his normal human strength.
Even still, all Ant-Man would need to do is keep his dissed ants with the help of his insect confidants and devise another plan of ant-tack. Something Hank has no shortage of.
For instance,
Really?
Ant-Man could
Plan of ant-tack.
Hank has outfitted hundreds of his ants with image-inducer technologies, giving them ample ways to fool Ray.
Something Hank has no shortage of.
For instance, Ant-Man could alter Atom's size thanks to the Pym particle field he generates. Hank would just need to stall long enough to remove.
Hank hacked into MODOK and the leader's temporal shifting technology and servers while he was in the middle of fighting them in The Incredible Hulk Volume 1, issue number 607.
Or disable Atom's bio belt, and he's had no trouble hacking enemy tech in the past.
But even with the bio belt busted, it wouldn't stop Adam's ability to shrink, since the White Dwarf power is contained throughout his suit. Destroying the belt only meant that Ant-Man could alter Adam's size.
Whereas Hank has literally rewritten his own biology to prevent.
Well, Hank and Ray could both shrink smaller than concepts. Only Hank had the means to counteract this by forcing Atom into a larger size. The Pym particles are also microscopic within the underspace, meaning Ray could not shrink between them.
And outside size alteration. And while Atom's abilities are definitely impressive, they are limited. And Ant-Man simply aren't, at least by comparison. Hank could always match Ray's size or just take the fight to the overspace where he would have the edge, both physically and mentally.
The overspace can mess with the human mind, but we've seen that Hank can handle it.
But if the Scientist Supreme
Sure,
is really
handle
so
it.
smart, why didn't he just immediately go up Adam's butt and blow him up from the inside?
That's disgusting.
What's wrong with you, Wiz? Aren't you a fellow man of science?
This
Your
is
glasses
the
are upside
meanest
down.
thing you've ever done to me.
Adam sized up Ant-Man, but in the end, he was the one who had to say, Uncle.
The winner is Ant-Man.
Why was he being such a dick that episode? I don't get why Boomstick was being an asshole.